Hey Annie, nice to meet you.
Hey Nick.
Welcome to Ingram Micro. Welcome to Milton Keynes, the world of concrete cows and roundabouts. So it's great to have you in today. Do you want to do introduction?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me in. I'm from Noteworthy, so we work with Partner Centre. Essentially, it's Partner Centre experts. So we work with partners around essentially supporting them getting the most out of their Microsoft partnership. And even though that sounds crazy to start there with the Partner Centre,
It's a dark art, the Partner Centre.
It really is.
It's like witchcraft in itself. But
so much of a Microsoft partnership really starts and ends with the Partner Centre administration, keeping everything up to date. So
and it moves.
Yeah, it does.
I
So much.
Well, it's Microsoft, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing ever sits still for 5 seconds.
There's so many updates, and often we find that it would be someone that's incredibly senior within the business.
Yeah.
So like a chief financial officer looking after the Partner Centre, which isn't efficient because they could be doing so much more strategic objectives.
Have the time, do they?
No. So we could take that job away from people that are essentially spending time where they don't need to. We can supplement an alliances team that are struggling with the bandwidth of what they need to do, because that's a really common one.
Yeah.
There's so much work that needs to be done, especially for larger organisations.
Yeah.
And then we can come in actually as a whole alliances function for smaller partners where maybe it doesn't make sense for them to hire an alliances person to work full time.
There's that sweet spot, I would imagine, somewhere in between where you would want somebody full time, or a consultation basis, I would assume.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it works where we can essentially trial it for the partner so that they can see the return on investment of what an alliances practice looks like. Get them in a great position where they're building brand with Microsoft, and then they can see whether or not it is a full-time job for them to have someone in there working every single day, because it's a big commitment for a partner to offer someone full-time contracts, working full-time. Alliances teams, people that work at that function are really expensive hires.
I was going to say an alliances manager in itself is a bougie amount of salary.
Yeah, they are very expensive hires, and if a partner isn't crystal clear on what that return on investment number looks like, it's really, really difficult for their board to go ahead and make that decision.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So on the alliances function, that's where we work. And then there's other things we do as well. So we do something called a Partner Centre Health Check report, which is where we come in and essentially take an audit of a partner's Partner Centre environment with a real focus on profitability, so we can see where a partner's doing really well across funded engagements, whether they're spending all of their co-op funding, which I think we'll come on to shortly.
Always the one every year.
Things like sharing pipeline with Microsoft is one that we look at.
Okay, so like the co-sell kind of opportunities and what they can do and how they kind of,
It's really having a moment at the minute, the co-sell.
The co-sell is really coming back, isn't it? I think where partners kind of really sort of was very nervous around kind of bringing Microsoft into these conversations, because I think with obviously Microsoft tailing back in terms of who they have as indirect resellers, tier one partners, what they're taking to EA, obviously scaling that back. I think now partners are really realising actually working with Microsoft, working better together is going to kind of lead to a more satisfactory outcome for end customers, because essentially that's what we're customer service at the end of the day, because it's our end customers, and you're helping partners help their end customers and kind of get to that outcome that they're looking for. And it's a big wide bad world out there at the minute in terms of all the cybersecurity problems that we're having. So it's really kind of how do we kind of double down on that and kind of make sure that actually are we being the most profitable that we can with Microsoft, and what does that look like?
It is you're right in that the things with EA customers, it has been really difficult for partners to get their head around. And I think there's always been that fear around, if you share pipeline, what happens to the lead?
Yes.
This year, there's been comments, news, kind of a real push on it from Microsoft around that CSP is the hero motion, and the sellers for the first time are kind of incentivized to go after those co-sell opportunities. So there is a bit of a backlog, I think, with partners embracing it, but slowly but surely, I think we're getting there.
I think that's reflected in Microsoft, how they've changed their incentives.
100%.
Obviously in October, having that growth metric in there, taking the new customer metric out, because that customer new metric was in there for such a long time. I mean, it's very rare that you come across an end customer that isn't in a Microsoft ecosystem somewhere along the line.
Yeah,
So
100%.
them taking that out and then putting that growth metric in, that really is going to kind of accelerate the incentives and the co-op and everything else that's going to come on, which obviously is a tedious link or a seamless link. Obviously, we are coming to the end of Microsoft's half.
We are.
And that then looks at co-op, which is generally the ones that everyone leaves in there.
Time.
Honestly, and you're like, it's crazy. Obviously, coming from a sure step background, that was our bread and butter, making sure that no one's leaving any money in there and making sure that we can spend it and everything else. And I think it really does still shock me at actually how many people are leaving money in there, because once it's gone, it's gone.
I know. And it's when we run a health check report, we always feed back to a partner around whether they've spent their co-op for the current half, obviously, but then we also look back and how much co-op has been left on the table for the last 2 years, however long we can look at.
Oh, that's some interesting conversation.
It can be. Yeah. We hate to see it left behind because...
But I think, I suppose, at a certain point, it's like, this is the reason why you're here in the channel. And it's the channel's been screaming out for this for such a long time. So it's great that you're coming in and filling that void that has been left. So
it's definitely a good void to fill, because it brings so much value for partners. Even if they do find that they have left money on the table, knowing that they have done is sometimes valuable in itself, because they know not to do it, and we can support them then in halves to come, how to spend it, what to do with it. But yeah, it's a great time of year to be talking about it, because there's just enough time, I think, to do something about it.
It's capturing it just at the right point.
Yeah, I would say so. It's a tricky one, and I think the dates are a thing that confuse partners.
The 45 days after the end, I think that
always.
Yeah, and I think people don't understand, or partners don't understand, what they can spend it on, because it's really vast.
It's so vast, and the thing that internally we always have a bit of a laugh about this, because the guide is very vast, but it's also very specific.
Yes. And they really are getting more specific what you can claim and how you can claim it as well. Every year it kind of gets a little bit tighter.
It does. Yeah. It changes a little bit. So you could do like a whole event for end customers. You could put food on. You could get T-shirts. That's all fine.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to do alcohol.
No, I was going to say the alcohol one.
Yeah. You're not allowed to do that. And that's one that I think, if a partner thinks, I'm going to do an event, they would think, I'm going to lay everything on, I'm going to do everything. Yeah. But you do have to really be aware of those little intricacies so that when you do get to claiming it back, you don't have any surprises, because it's,
it's the little nuances that you need to be aware of, isn't it?
There's lots of nuances around it. And I think as a general rule, one that's often really overlooked is the spend of co-op on things like solution partner designations, website rebrands. So maybe less of the customer facing stuff.
Yep.
Because I think that one, partners typically understand that when it says co-op, we're looking for something to do together with customer. But definitely spending it on designations is something that we see.
That's quite relatively new though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
back in the kind of the old days where we had the gold and the silver, you couldn't use it then. So obviously that's sort of the last 12, 18 months or so.
I would have said so. I don't know exactly when that came in. But it's a really valuable one, because obviously a designation itself, it's just over $3,000. That's a nice chunk if you are looking for things to spend it on straight away. Going to Ignite.
Well, I was going to say Ignite. That's a great spend, especially for H2.
Yeah.
Obviously, the tickets come out sort of April time, March, April. So you can get your tickets and kind of, and that's not cheap. And obviously you can utilise your flights and everything else on the way over.
Flight, hotel, and the ticket for the event. Yeah. Not allowed upgrades on your room though, so don't go any ideas.
Don't do any upgrades on your room.
Business class.
We had a lot of partners that went to Ignite this year, and that's how they did it. And I think that's the piece, isn't it? If it's a Microsoft-led event, then you can utilise it for those things.
And I think that's what's so nice sometimes about that co-op funding, is that because it's a Microsoft event, Microsoft want partners to be able to go to it and to grow.
Yeah. And even for the smaller partners that don't have co-ops, I think it's like circa I'm going to really put my finger in it, so don't hold it. It must be about 100,000 a month billion.
It's dead on, yeah.
Yeah, to get a co-op pot. But for the partners that are billing below that, obviously it's a 60-40 split. So technically you get your co-op fund back. So everyone's obviously talking about marketing funds. I've not got a co-op. How do I get a co-op? And you're like, well, actually, you kind of got it already, haven't you?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
It's a really odd one, I think, with those ratios. And every time I explain it to a partner, I could feel myself going on and on with ratios and numbers and splits, but it's
like an algebra equation.
So you're thinking, but no, around about 100,000 a month is pretty much dead on. What I would say to a partner when you're looking at what you need to be spending to get that dedicated pot.
Yeah.
I say dedicated, and it's to your point. They kind of already have a co-op.
They do, yeah.
If you want to know kind of at a glance if that co-op is being put into a pot or if it's being given back, is when you go into the earnings, the little graph in Partner Centre where you see the earnings every month. If you see a big spike twice a year around September and then again in March, that means that money is coming back as still co-op, but you receive it as cash to do something.
Get it directly, rather than having to have the permutations, which might cost
Exactly. So they get the money, but they just don't need to get it approved, which is...
So you can buy your fizz if
so
you want to.
Yeah. You can even do your upgrades. So do whatever.
So in terms of at the Partner Centre areas where you can go, right, actually, where else can you earn money? Because essentially everyone looks at Partner Centre and Microsoft put it out there going, you can earn money within funding. Everyone loves the word funding.
They do. Yeah, it gets partners really excited about funding. The funding is where I think we're busiest as a business.
Is that like MCI funding?
MCI funding, yeah. So I'll shout out to Jamie on the team who looks after all of our MCI funding and then designations. And it actually works really well that she looks after both, because obviously back in October, there was that announcement around you didn't necessarily need a solutions partner designation to get rebate.
Yep.
We had a lot of questions around that time.
I think it was quite ambiguous. Kind of.
I think so.
Like, I think the thing is with Microsoft, they always expect everything's always so thorough, and you have to there's like a lot of hoops you have to jump through to kind of get the outcome. And then all of a sudden, they're like, you just need 25 points.
Yeah, like as well.
Anything else?
Yeah, it was really ambiguous, and in the end, you've got to hold 25 points for 6 months, and then you start getting those rebates in. And we had a lot of partners say, well, my designations are costing me £3,000 a year. What's the benefit? And the benefit to that, in short, is MCI funding, as well as the brand and the less kind of tangible benefits. It really is the MCI funding, because without the designation, you're still not able to unlock that with the 25 points. Yeah. The thing with MCI funding that we see quite often is that in Partner Centre you can check for pre-approved funding.
Yep.
The vast majority of partners with designations don't check that. No. And that is where, when we do a health check, we will check that for a partner to see what work have you done when Microsoft have taken a look at the project. They've seen all of the licensing revenue come through. They've seen everything through Partner Centre and thought, yeah, perfect. That engagement matches the funding guide.
Yep.
I don't expect any partners to read that full funding guide. It's 200 pages long. It's massive.
Yes. Well, unless you've got Copilot to go in there and go, can you just find this part for me, please?
And that is a really good way of doing it. It's so long, and it's very in-depth.
And it's probably very Microsofty, which means it can be getting a bit ambiguous.
It's difficult, I think, for a partner to dedicate the time to study that. So we help partners kind of profile that guide to them to be more personalised, because it can feel quite general, I think, when you look at the engagement. A lot of partners maybe not make the mistake, but maybe have the misconception that when they look at the funding guide and they look at the engagements, they might think, I need to reinvent the way that I deliver. Say, for example, they've got the security immersion briefings. They might look at that and think, well, I need to completely reinvent the way that I do this particular engagement. I do something similar, but I need to change it. That isn't true. The majority of the time, if you if you do the funded engagement in the way that fits what your business does, you can adapt that slightly so that it fits the funding guide rather than the other way around.
So we've been doing something quite similar. So obviously we have Partner Centre. So we have access to that. So something that our security team are going in and going, right, actually, you can get the MCI workshops for security and then walking them through the whole. And if they don't have the ability to deliver it, then we've been getting Ingram Microservices, a pound in the pot for me. So we've been putting Ingram Microservices and we have plugging them in and go, right, actually, do you know what? We can deliver these on your behalf because we have all the credentials and obviously everything else. So Pete and Ben have really been kind of like double down on those and going, right, you can do this, and actually don't be too scared of it, because I think a lot of people are really scared of like going, oh, that sounds like quite a lot intricate, I suppose, and there's a lot to it. So we try and take the noise out of it and really kind of bring it back down into, actually, this is what we can do. If you can't deliver it, we can deliver it on your behalf, and then kind of work together with partners for that.
It's a great way of doing it because the funding can be so impactful for new business, and then retaining existing business is so good for a partner to utilize it. But yeah, you're so right. I think when you look at the requirements and what you need to do for it, and then you read words like proof of execution and you panic. It does seem more intricate than it is sometimes. And particularly as well with this FY, the new, it's like the 3-to-1 ratio that you need to close of the deals that you put through. We've seen a big impact on that with partners not wanting to put the funding through. But I wouldn't be too put off that, because I think if you're delivering the engagement in the way that you should be to secure the funding, you will naturally achieve that ratio anyway. I know that there's a few where you do have to be mindful. I think this is the advice that we always give, and I'm sure it's similar that you'll give to partners as well. But you do need to be mindful and kind of sanity check when you do deliver the funding. That the customer is right for it.
Yes, exactly.
That, if they're a customer that's never going to grow. There are sanity checks, I think, that you should do around growth. But
I think if you know your customer well enough, you should be like going, well, actually, this really fits them, or it may fit them in a couple of months' time.
Exactly.
They may be on the roadmap and not quite got there yet, but actually, along that yellow brick road that we like to take our end customers and our partners on, then actually this is where we can slot it in. And these are, and we're happy to sit there and help and identify end customers to partners for this and go, right, are they there yet? Are they ready for this? Because you can't force something. And I think that's got to be really, really careful. And I think in terms of when we look at technologies and trying to force the technologies, like it never ends well.
No, it really doesn't. And that's the thing, I think, firstly with the pre-approved funding, it might be pre-approved, but it's not pre-checked. Only you know your customer.
Yeah, it's like a preliminary. This looks
exactly.
This looks like a nice prospect.
This is a good idea. This could work. Is kind of the way I like to see it. So it would be a mistake to look at that and think, I have X amount of dollars available to me on the table, guaranteed. This is kind of like a best case, is what we look at. You know your customer best, as you said, to take them through that engagement. But then also to that point around when you're looking at trying to force the technology, I think Microsoft have really shifted in the way that they recognise that it used to be very much license sales. Like new customers, like estate growth. Now the focus is very much enablement and growth within the tech, rather than introducing new. I think if you don't introduce a technology when the customer is ready for it, you're going to really struggle with that usage and adoption piece where you're really recognised.
It's got to be organic.
Definitely.
And I think that's the main part of it. As I say, if you force the door open, it's just going to rebound back in your face. And that was really encapsulated with Copilot at the beginning of the year last year.
Definitely.
We saw CFOs, CEOs all having these Copilot licenses. They're not admin user heavy people to utilize it. And they're like, they wanted it because they wanted the latest tech. We all want the latest tech.
We do.
But they all want this kind of like, I've got a Copilot license, but actually weren't necessarily finding the value. Not because they can't use the tech. Is actually they're not sitting down long enough to be using it half the time because, they're on the golf course, they're in meetings, they're traveling. Yeah, exactly. So I think, and that's the piece, and we really kind of doubled down on it last year and gone, well, actually, have we got the right people utilising it? So we've got somebody that's more admin focused. I think like some of the promptathons and stuff like we've done, I'm slightly going off a tangent, but promptathons that we have done is we've broken it down by department and gone, actually, right, sales, this is what you're going to do, marketing, this is how you're going to use it, finance, and really kind of, scale those promptathons into what are those workloads are they using? And I think that's it's great to go, right, summarize my emails. What have I missed today? What do I need to,
come back from holiday and need help. Yeah,
exactly. 400 emails. It's only away for a day.
Yeah.
No. So that, I think, that's something that and I think that's, as I say, going back to it, is having that tech and going, right, making sure that it's the right people at the right time.
Yeah, 100%. And it's that, to your point around the co-pilot piece, I'll be interested if how you're seeing this play out with partners, but partners that we see doing really well with introducing particularly co-pilot at the right time are partners that have really embraced that customer zero mentality and have tested everything internally. And it sounds like you've done that at Ingram, where you're very much personalising it to the function that's using it.
You've got to understand it.
You do,
right?
yeah.
You don't understand it. I've always worked in sales, right? Yeah. So you've really got to believe in the product that you sell it.
100%.
And you've really got to get kind of kinesthetic. You've got to get down and dirty with it to a certain point. You know what I mean? That's why you've got to like it. If you're trying to sell something that you don't like, or trying to understand something you don't like, then essentially it's never going to be authentic. So, and that's the thing. I think when you understand and you're meeting people on that level, that's when you go, right, actually you can connect with people correctly. So I think that's where we really we did AI pathways, and it's like, forget Copilot, take Copilot out the situation. Do you actually have an AI program? Do you have an AI? Do they have a strategy to start off to sell it? So, where's security coming in? Because essentially Copilot sits on security. So you can send Copilot or any AI out, but actually there's nothing there to capture. Are you sending data out into the wilderness? And I think that's the biggest part of it. We really looked at actually, let's taking it right back and going, what's your AI strategy? How are you understanding it? Yeah. What does this do? And this is last year, 18 months ago, that we were having these conversations with our partners. And then it's the evolution of what that looks like. So how that kind of goes back. And now we've really ended up with this really wide, disparaging kind of customer set, where some people are not even on the Copilot journey, and some people are so far through the Copilot journey they're into agents and security, and they're really kind of ingesting it and kind of loving the whole Copilot journey. So I think it's and that's the thing, it's such a scale.
It is. And you do see that with the early adopters of it that had everything kind of ready at the point where it hit the market, and really evolved with the product, I think is the key bit. Because when Copilot first came out, I think there was a sense of, well, this doesn't work quite as well as ChatGPT does.
Yeah.
You had to really work with it to allow it to grow with you. Those partners have really embraced it, and you're right, are well on the way to being those agentic firms that are really looking into taking AI to the next level. But that doesn't mean it's too late either for the partners that are still maybe slightly overwhelmed, I think, with the AI journey.
And it could be the fact that they don't have the propensity or the time to do it as well.
It's time consuming.
Yeah, and that's where we're, again, we're really trying to kind of help them out by understanding training courses, internal training, end customer demos, end customer conversations, Ingram Micro. So, it's like trying to, drip feed rather than throwing everything at them all at the same time. Yeah, I think, sort of kind of tedious link coming back to the incentives. It's Microsoft are incentivizing, those, and the global strategic product accelerator too. I have no idea how someone's put a global strategic product accelerator. Why could I just want to say accelerator?
Yes. It is long. It's a long title.
Honestly, can never get my tongue around it. But those accelerators, obviously, they're you kind of being incentivized by Microsoft to to kind of move and learn along these paths, especially security as well. Security is such a big area with the new Purview suites and the Defender suites and bundles, like going into SMB. So it
bundles
makes
it been really popular, super popular.
Yeah, so popular. So
there's a lot, I think, around those strategic product accelerators that I think often get missed. Because, you know, before when I said that baseline, the 3% of revenue, absolutely, that's the core one. But you're right, isn't it? When you do start leaning into those sales that are maybe go beyond the baseline licensing model, you're going into Copilot, for example, that enterprise licensing. You can get an additional, it's like 6-7%. Some of them within modern work are really, really significant. And I think for partners that are reselling Microsoft products and are looking at ways to boost profitability, maybe earlier in the journey, maybe they're not quite at the 70 points yet, definitely embracing those strategic product accelerators as a roadmap for where to go when you are looking at licenses that might work. It's a really good way of doing it because that boosts essentially your margin. You do get it back as a rebate, but it is an extra
I think
stream.
that's always something that everyone's always said about Microsoft and their license. There's no margin in it. There's no skin in the game. And you're just like, you're not looking at the full picture, because essentially it's not even just the front end margin or the rebate. No, it's obviously your actual services on top, which you dictate that price to what they're 100% margin essentially. So
definitely,
but it always makes me kind of chuckle, I suppose, in some ways. Is around the sort of the margin in licensing is there. It's just out of plain sight, really.
It is, and it's a really common, I guess, not objection, but maybe a common grumble from the channel around Microsoft margin.
I don't think there's you can be an objection to it, really. No. The world's so indoctrinated into the Microsoft team. You've got to come to it, really, haven't you?
It's I used to work within the distribution channel, and it was always, there's not, you're not going to get rich from Microsoft. There's no money in it. I think if you are looking at it with a very short-term lens, I can understand where that's coming from. Because it is less margin rich than other security vendors where you can get around 60% margin on it. That's massive in comparison. But I think sometimes what's forgotten then is the earning journey, if you like, with Microsoft. If you start off small, grow your estate, then get to the point where you've got your 25 points to earn the rebates and you're spending 25k over the course of 12 months. You're absolutely fine, because then you're going to start earning your baseline core rebates on those products. Then as you grow, it becomes more profitable. And this is just on the margin as well. To your point, it doesn't even include that services revenue, which can be whatever you want it to be.
When you start going into the business premium, for instance, certainly with the bundles, they're so achievable to have,
Definitely.
Certainly with the business premium, the Copilot, and half price Purview, you're still saving money that if you bought a business premium and a Copilot license of like pre-1st of December, essentially. So and then within those aspects, you've got to deploy those workloads.
Exactly.
So,
it's
and
the deployment.
that's the bit that I think everyone kind of forgets in all of it. Yes, you might not be getting the 60 points, but one thing that we've noticed, and I'm not sure if you've noticed too, is a lot of vendor consolidation, where actually end customers or partners, they just want one vendor. They don't really want to be dealing with these multi-layered vendors. You've got different technologies that are going into different admin portals. You're having to manage it differently. Does it necessarily cover the whole aspect of it? And equally, there's lots of bills going out. So somebody in accounts is having to pay all these different bills and everything else. So one thing that we've really noticed, and I don't know if you have too, is that vendor consolidation it seems to be much more sort of prevalent now than it ever been.
I would 100% agree with that. Particularly with SMB as well. We're seeing a massive
smaller teams, aren't they?
Yeah. So, and I saw something recently where it said that the average, and this is enterprise, but the average enterprise organisation has got over 1,000 apps that they use within their business.
That's apps.
Which is so. Can you imagine the decision fatigue of where am I going within the computer today to do my task? I don't think I know 1,000 apps off the top of my head, let alone use them.
I mean, that's quite an amount to be fair. Yeah,
it's hefty. And I think if you're working within a smaller business, I mean, we're a relatively small team at Noteworthy, so you have to be efficient in the way that you work. I think you do so many different jobs every day. We love it that way, but I can imagine that if you added the complexity of that many apps
and that many job centres, you know what I mean? Like, imagine
it would be really overwhelming. And it's actually quite similar to the conversation around business applications, Business Central. I think the selling point for that for partners, when I first sort of started talking to partners around it, was that consolidation piece. And I think as partners evolve deeper into the Microsoft ecosystem, I don't know if you remember this, but partners quite often used to say Microsoft isn't a security vendor.
100%. I've heard that a million times. Defender. Yeah, really? Are you serious? Like, and you're like, yeah, actually, I am. It's not the Defender that was on my Vista laptop like 30 years ago. You know,
it really has.
It really has evolved. Yeah, like,
and attitudes around it as well from partners and end customers have really, really changed over the last, I would say, maybe 2 to 3 years. It's really changed quickly.
I remember having this conversation with partners in COVID. And
really?
then, so the Gartner Magic Quadrant, everyone knows the Gartner Magic Quadrant. I remember having the conversation and going, like, you really need to be taking it seriously that we are Microsoft are a vendor, like a security vendor. And, it was always, and everyone's like,
we'll stick.
Okay, that's fine. Nice, great chat. You know what I mean? And it was just like, and I think the more the technology's evolved, you've had Defender for Business that have come in, which kind of changes the complexity. Lighthouse that's come in, Defender for Endpoint P2,
Lighthouses.
And I think that really has changed people's mindset on it. They really have kept their promise, and I think that's one thing that we probably need to kind of credit Microsoft on, and really, 100%. And going, actually, do you know what they said, and they did.
And it's that argument, isn't it, around enterprise customers versus SMB customers, where I think, to be honest, I think the market is improving on this. But that conversation around just because you're a smaller business, you're immune to...
We're not big enough for Microsoft to see us. How many times have you heard that? Well, we're not, if Microsoft not going to be interested in us. They are. They really are.
They are. And I think that, especially with the introduction of the SMB tracks within the designation pathways, that's a massive change, I think, in the way that partners see SMB customers, end customers.
Yeah.
I think as well, changes are happening all the time, like the SMB Copilot licenses. Yeah, that's a massive step to make it more attainable. The bundles make the compliance and the governance side of AI so much more attainable for a small business to look at. That accessibility piece for technology, particularly within that SMB track, is something that has been missing for a while, because I think that feeds into as well why sometimes a smaller partner will think, because there's not a push of like heavy duty security for a smaller business, that means I'm not in danger. I'm not vulnerable to these threats.
Yeah.
Actually, smaller businesses are more vulnerable.
Yeah, of course they are.
But I think this is a really good shift where smaller businesses will start taking security more seriously because they can.
So I think we had bring your own device to work back in COVID. Because obviously we had like a chip shortage and everything else.
Yeah.
We now have the problem of bringing your own AI to work, where people are utilising either Gemini or ChatGPT, Copilot, their own versions. Obviously, you can pay for these versions, and I think that's one thing that, one thing that we're seeing more of is that everyone's got their own flavour. It's a bit like it's what mobile phone do you use? It's essentially what AI you use. And, the cool kids want to be using one, the corporate bunnies want to be using another, and somebody who wants to be slightly edgy uses it, and I think that's the thing at the end of the day. And AI is built into, I think Google's like, it's built into the search engine now.
It's quite good, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You put it in and then it's already built in. So, and obviously they've pretty much got the market when it comes down to the search function.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're kind of automatically using it when you not even know you're using it these days.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Obviously, when, Copilot, I mean, I use Copilot all the time. Constantly use Copilot.
I do.
At home or at work. It is definitely agentic AI. That's when I use it, essentially. But in terms of that, I think one thing that we are noticing that, certainly talking to end customers, talking to partners and going, well, actually, what's going on in the ecosystem? Have you got anything in there that's actually stopping this?
Yeah.
And this is where the purview suites, etc., really come in, because actually the compliancy section is really kind of then picking this stuff up and go, well, actually, do you realise that actually some of this stuff's being leaked out via this path, essentially?
And it's nice because everything is Microsoft branded, like the Purview Suite to the Copilot license. It's a really nice journey, for a partner to take.
100%. Seamless.
Yeah.
Which it all works together.
Almost like it's designed to be that way.
Crazy.
But I do think that that kind of bring your own AI to work piece is really interesting, because
I think personally it's probably one of the biggest threats that we have at the moment, and I think it's like not a silent killer, but I think I think it really is certainly it could be a massive risk if it's not nipped in the bud quite quickly.
It is one, and I think I speak to my friends around this, if you've got a Copilot for work and then whatever you use at home is your personal AI and then your work AI. The amount of people that I've spoken to that don't realise that you're not meant to put your work information in your personal one. You're absolutely not meant to put your personal in your work. Because lots of people don't realise that if you put anything that's sensitive into ChatGPT, like the free version, for example, that information is then in the public domain.
That's right, yeah.
It's just free information. Everyone could get it. You can put in a prompt and retrieve it. But then the work Copilot is obviously secure. You can put whatever you want into it. It's customized to your internal environment. People don't realise that. And it's not, I think because we work in tech, we're lucky.
Yeah. I think
we hear that.
We just kind of know it without really realising that actually, is this like, we just kind of go along and go, right, that's exactly how we do it. You know what I mean? That's exactly how it works. It's a workflow.
Yeah. You just think to do it.
Just think everyone else knows it sometimes. And I think probably the ignorance of probably ourselves going, well, why did you not know that? And you're like, well, because no one's told us.
And that's
also we hear it day in, day out. We have those conversations with different people all day, every day. And then all of a sudden you're like, so it just kind of like comes, it's muscle memory, I suppose.
It is. And that's, I think, where partners have a really good opportunity with AI is obviously the complicated, agentic, fancy things. They always have a place there.
Such a bougie word, agentic AI.
Yeah, I like it. Obviously they have a place there. Like to inspire more within AI, absolutely. But I think partners still have a huge opportunity, even within the basics of personal information goes here, this is why. Work information goes here, this is why. Because I think without that baseline understanding, it's hard for an individual to embrace the journey and to embrace change. Because how are you meant to know what agentic AI means for you if you've never been explained and told how just baseline?
What's AI and agentic AI? What's the difference?
Yeah, just an assistant, like a virtual assistant.
So you can either prompt it and ask it things and it's more of a sterile relationship, or it's something that's productive. Yeah, kind of like, actually, this is what you need to do, or you've missed this, or, I think that's the thing. I think that's the understanding is there's lots of words that are buzzed about. And I think change management essentially has probably come on so much. I think we just take change in tech quite easily because we understand. I mean, if you work along with Microsoft, you know that it's a constant change.
Yeah.
It
keeps us very busy.
It keeps us in jobs essentially at the end of the day. But in terms of that, and I think that's the piece. And I think we're quite fluid in the movement of going, right, okay, it's this now, or right, that's coming on, right, we just need to learn this, or how does that work, or how does that operate? What's the workings behind it? And I think we probably sometimes don't think about the outside world because they're not a part of it. They're just, if you're working in finance, for instance, you probably wouldn't even think about it. When you come across, you go, well, actually, I don't want it to do that because that's going to take away my job. And I think that was always the thing when Copilot came out. Well, if we're going to have AI, then it's going to take away my job. Well, necessarily it's not. It's just going to actually make it far more efficient.
It absolutely will. And I think that's your point around, like, there's a lot of words that buzz around.
Yeah.
I think they become like so second nature to us because we work within it.
Yeah.
But then I guess it's like how I'm always baffled by things like the budget. When they come out with mortgage rates, people in finance probably take that really naturally.
Yeah.
Kind of fully understand
what does that mean to me?
Yeah, I don't know. But agentic AI, for people that work in just end user organisations, they probably think, what is that?
We're talking about.
And when you explain it as, it's AI that completes work with a purpose more than it being sterile, as you said, it does stuff.
Yeah. It's not transactional relationship.
Yeah. That brings up, I think without the context, that could bring up a lot of anxiety around, this agent is going to be doing things. That feels like it's doing my job. Yeah. Not at all. It still needs human
100%
teaching. And there's a lot that you need to do with it to get that to perform. I think that's the piece that I think causes anxiety sometimes. Is it going to act? Kind of autonomously? No.
No, it's not.
Not yet.
We're not yet. I was going to say that later.
No. But there's definitely a lot, I think, that with that shift towards agentic, nice word again.
Yeah.
I do think that will be interesting to see how the end customers, end users embrace that with the help of partners. Yeah. I do think that'll be really interesting to see.
And obviously we've got AI coming into Partner Centre.
Yeah, I know. How exciting.
Yeah. Just talking about taking jobs.
Yeah.
How are you seeing that? How are you feeling about that? I think that's obviously going to help partners that, it is a minefield, Partner Centre. And it changes. And, we've had certain foibles that go on. So like the partner record that's obviously been asked recently. We've certainly had these kind of certain areas where you go, where do I find that? Or how do I know that I'm an incentives admin? Because that was always the thing that back in my shoulder, I'm like, are you an incentives admin? Let's have a look. Let's make sure you can actually get into it. Can you get the reports? Can you get the analytics? Can you, all these kind of like elements. So now that obviously AI is starting to be built in, and obviously now it's starting to summarize or kind of, I think it's got to be a good thing, right?
It's absolutely a good thing. Yeah. It's actually something that we've found really helpful when we're doing work for partners, because it's really helpful in the way it is at the moment. The way I'd explain like using the AI in Partner Centre as a team that are in there every day is that you still need to know exactly what you're looking for.
Yes.
Like you still need to know the data point that you need to see.
Yeah.
But once you know it, I know that within the reporting section, Jamie will speak to the AI assistant within Partner Centre and it will download the right reports. It just saves the ticking the boxes.
Yeah.
It's a nice time-saving exercise. And I think it's really good at... I saw a couple of examples of it last week where it was popping up on the side and I hadn't seen it before. It does offer good insight. I think it will be really helpful for partners, to the point where we're saying around co-op.
Yes.
It would be really nice if it would just... A partner still needs to know what co-op is. They still need to know...
It's crazy, but we're this far along the path and, we're still having the same conversations.
It is.
Half.
And I think for that side of thing, it will be really helpful to be able to use the AI within Partner Centre to be able to say, do I have co-op remaining? And it come back and give an answer, rather than, because there's a lot of clicks, isn't there, within Partner Centre?
There is.
I think any partner that used it will know it's like different bits you need to go into.
And then you always go into the wrong bit before you go into
always.
You're like, is it in centres or is it in programmes?
Where is it? Yeah. Earnings or incentives is always my question.
Yes.
It is tricky to know where to go. And hopefully that will alleviate some of that for partners where they do have that day-to-day check-in. Everyone should be in their check-in anyway.
Yeah.
But I think the bit that I think will be really difficult to replace human interaction with Partner Centre is taking co-op as an example. It's like knowing what you've done outside of Partner Centre that needs to go in.
Yeah.
Only you will know that because of your business. Same as to your point around the funding, is like knowing your customer.
Exactly.
The Partner Centre will never know your customer through the AI tool unless you put that information in.
That's it, yeah.
And that's something that I think you only know through knowing your customer.
It's relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will ever take from that relationship side.
Well, it can't be with you. It's not recording you 24/7.
No.
It can't, and I think that's the thing we have to realise is, we have these conversations, and we had a conversation out there about phones and dogs and everything else. But there was no AI listening to
No.
probably phones, but you know what I mean. But it wasn't feeding into the business conversation that we were having, so it couldn't understand. You go outside and you bump somebody in the street. It's not gonna pick it up. And I think it's that the emotional understanding of a human that AI just don't kind of get. They understand it's a very black and white situation, where actually we live in a very grey world.
Yeah, we do.
And I think that's the nuances in terms of going, well, that they look great, perfect, when actually we know that actually maybe somebody has left and that person's not there, and they can't, and it's really kind of like those pieces where we look at it and go, well, we know they're not ready yet, because actually they've got to take somebody on, and they've got to get them into speed and everything else. So, and it's understanding the picture as full, rather than just going, right, but they use a lot of this, and actually they could do with this, and actually the outcome would be that. I think one thing that we're really looking at is actually how do we kind of get partners to understand partner centre better. How can they utilise it, making sure they're not leaving money on the table? How do they get more funding? 100% that in the end of the day, we want to make sure that our partners are getting the most out of Microsoft. How do we squeeze that lemon that little bit harder? And I think that's certainly one thing that Noteworthy can really help partners kind of get on that path, essentially. And as I said, it's not necessarily, I think, from the interactions that we have had, it's working along with the alliance managers.
Yeah, definitely.
If they have an alliance manager, and also working with those smaller partners. As I said, it's not a one size fits all. It's like, you can pretty much get in anywhere, can't you?
We can. We really do meet the partner where they are.
Yeah.
So whether they're just starting to bring that dedication to their Microsoft relationship in, and we're coming in as a whole alliances outfit, completely fine. Or even if they're an enterprise organisation that needs a bit of almost overlay to their existing alliances team, there might be loads of them, but they might all just be working in quite a siloed manner.
Yeah.
That's another reason why sometimes it's helpful to get a bit of support. But it's definitely, I think one thing for partners that I always say to them is it really is a journey when looking to, as you said, kind of squeeze that lemon a bit with Microsoft. It's never an overnight fix. It's something that starts with very simple actions that we can support with. So it's uploading data to Partner Centre, whether it's sharing referrals, whether it's making sure that all of your associations are done in a timely manner.
Yeah.
It's always a nuance and a small thing that leads to a really big impact 6 months down the line.
It's that little snowball.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's a great way of putting it. But yeah, we've seen partners be able to get great results in relatively short time frames, but sometimes it is. The most common thing we hear is you just don't know what you don't know.
Of course you do. Yeah.
And that is, I think, with Partner Centre, we both know it can be a dark art. It can be wild.
Definitely a dark art.
But just sometimes knowing whether you're doing it right or whether you're doing it wrong, knowing
or just indifferent.
Yeah, exactly. Whether you're haven't even started, you just haven't known it's there.
I think it's just one of those tasks that everyone leaves to the end, to be fair, and gone,
completely.
Do you know what, it's a reactive thing rather than a proactive thing. And I think that's the bit when gone, actually we just got into January, should have actually looked how much my car was. And then once the horse is bolted, they're kind of, and I think that's a bit, it's that proactivity when it comes down to it.
Definitely. And I think, when organisations are busy and they haven't got bandwidth for it, it's really logical why that's the last step. It's very manual.
Yeah.
Even with the introduction of the AI within Partner Centre, it still is manual to do the job. It's something that needs to be done proactively if you're going to get the best benefit from it. But it completely makes sense why sometimes, as you say, the horse has bolted by the time you see it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, co-op, you have got the benefit.
The horse can bolt once or it can bolt twice.
Yeah.
I'm sure if it's bolted once, not ideal. However,
not ideal.
Stop it doing it twice.
We can work in the background till it goes again.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's the way.
So if you're looking to obviously work with Noteworthy, reach out to us and we can get you an introduction to Noteworthy. But no, thank you very much for today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been brilliant.